Hey everyone, and welcome back to a new episode of Darwindows. Before this episode starts, let me just check something with you guys. Do you know what a Pokémon is? A Pokémon, or we can also call it a pocket monster, is a creature from a famous game franchise called Pokémon. Unfortunately, they don't exist. However, you don't have to look too far to find similar organisms that do live in our world. And this is the topic of today's episode. What inspired the designs of Pokémon? When you look at Pokémon, you may notice some similarities with real animals that roam the earth, or even used to roam the earth. We thought it could be really interesting to compare certain Pokémon with the species that we know. Let's get started, shall we?
Let's start off with a Pokémon that might be a bit easier for you to identify. Caterpie. Caterpie, as you can see, is a simple caterpillar, or to be more specific, an eastern tiger swallowtail caterpillar. However, if you know Pokémon, you know that they go through evolutions and change as they accumulate more experience points or through diverse other methods that I won't dive into. Sorry. On the other hand, animals can also go through a morphological change, and in the case of insects, we call it metamorphosis. Pokémon portrays this metamorphosis through multiple insect-type Pokémon, and we can see this through Caterpie's evolutions. Just like with some butterfly species, the caterpie goes through three stages: the caterpillar stage, the pupa stage, or chrysalis, before finally becoming a butterfly. However, unfortunately, the evil form of caterpie, Butterfree, does not look like the eastern tiger swallowtail. Butterfree took its design from black-veined white butterflies. Still, very cool to see metamorphosis in the Pokémon game.
When you see this cute fellow, what animal comes to mind first? A dinosaur? Or maybe a lizard of some sort? Well, Charmander's design is actually inspired from salamanders, and some could even say a red salamander. However, did you know the story behind the design? When you take a look at a salamander and then at Charmander, you end up wondering why they decided to make him a fire type when salamanders live in moist, wet areas. Actually, salamanders would often dwell in damp logs, usually to take naps. Back in the day, this would be problematic for the salamanders because the humans would take these logs and set them on fire for themselves. The unfortunate salamanders which slept inside those logs would then run out of the fire, their bodies set alight. This led to a widespread belief that salamanders were actually born from the fire, leading to the inspiration behind Charmander and his type, fire. And when this cutie evolves to its final form, it becomes a dragon called Charizard. I do feel a little reassured that real-life salamanders don't actually turn into dragons, though it could have been a little cool.
Yes, Pokémon can also take its form from plants, such as with Carnivine, inspired from the Venus flytrap. There is also Vileplume, inspired by the infamous Rafflesia, the biggest flower in the world. You have all sorts of plant-inspired Pokémon, even such as Eldegoss from cotton and Sunflower, which is a sunflower of course. Sometimes Pokémon can be a mix of two or even more different animals. A perfect example for this is Gliscor. Gliscor can be seen as a mix between a vampire bat and a scorpionfly. Isn't that cool? It even acts like the animals that inspired it. Its flight is soundless, and it uses its lengthy tail to carry off its prey and uses its fangs to attack. You can even find Pokémon that don't even come from species, but from their creations. Take a look at Combee. Gosh, it's so cute. But that's not our point. It takes its form from a honeycomb, and not an actual bee, though we can still see some bee characteristics. However, if the Combee is a female, it actually evolves into a queen bee, called Vesperne. If it's a male, just like real bees, they don't evolve and stay the same. Female power.
Now, let's move on to the fun part. All the Pokémons that we presented to you were pretty similar to animals that you could find in the wild. But for some of them, it's a little more complicated than that. Let's test your identification skills. Will you be able to find the origins of those Pokémon? Let's give it a try. Welcome to the section, Who's That Pokémon? Or if you want to be more precise, what's that Pokémon?
Round 1.
This guy is a little bit tricky. What could it be? Actually, this Pokemon's name is Pheromosa. Doesn't it have a cool shape? Take a close look at its design. What animal or plant could have possibly inspired it? Well, it's actually a cockroach. And you heard me right, a cockroach.
Round 2.
Moving on to our next candidate. What could this guy be? He looks quite interesting, doesn't he? This Pokemon is called Buzzwole. Just like Pheromosa, this guy is inspired by an insect. However, unlike Pheromosa, it has big muscles, kind of like a bodybuilder. Actually, Buzzwole is inspired by ants. The lore tells us that it comes from another planet and that it's a super alien ant species. And I'm kind of grateful that our ants don't look like this.
Round 3.
Moving on to our third guy. This kind of looks like a heart, doesn't it? Well, it's actually Love Disc. Love Disc has an interesting shape, like I said, a heart. Actually, it's inspired by a fish, and not just any fish. It's inspired by the kissing gourami, known for its puckered lips and pink color, just like the Pokemon. Isn't it so cute?
Round 4.
What could this be? An egg with fins? Its name is Octodish. Well, yes, they think and move, or at least was able to. Actually, its origin is pretty cool. This Pokemon is based on Dunkleosteus, now an extinct species. This fish was able to slice flesh and grind bones, unlike this adorable little Pokemon you're looking at.
Round 5.
Oh, this one looks cute, don't you think? A little creature that just wants to give you a little hug. This one is called Snowball. Hug it and face the consequences.
Round 6.
Last but not least, you think you can guess this one? It's not really related to any living or extinct species. This one is known as Sinistra. Yes, you were right on the spot. This Pokemon is actually just a cup of matcha with its whisk.
Pokemon designs were strongly influenced by the biodiversity around us from the present as well as the past. But not only. We saw some that were inspired by the shapes derived from creations, whether it being from animals, plants, or even us humans. Now we have a question for you. What is your favorite Pokemon and what inspired its design? Let us know in the comments down below. If you liked the video, please give us a like and subscribe. Until next time, thanks for watching. Bye!